All right, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Waypoint. We've been doing this probably about a year. Actually, it's Coffee with Waypoint and Friends. We've been doing this about a year, and one of the reasons we did this is we wanted to bring people that were working in the industry to serve senior living together and also do education around marketing. So it's been highly successful. We've had really great turnout. Some folks join us almost every month, and then we have new people that come in as well. But it was really just, hey, we're all focused on helping this industry and how we help this industry. And AI clearly, after coming back from Smash, is one of the hot topics. Maybe everybody's feeling a little overload on it as well. But we thought it would be a good topic to have a discussion around. And I've known Fahad for some time now. So I'm really excited about having him as a guest. And in full transparency, he also has been the most fantastic go-to for us as we build out our Waypoint tools and try to build things that are relevant for the senior living industry. So I'm super happy to have him. But you know what I'll do is I'll go through a little bit of housekeeping first. For those that have not met me, because there are some new folks on this call, my name's Terri Sullivan. I've been in senior living 15 plus years since 2007, mainly working on the tech side of senior living. Personally, I live in Connecticut. I have four beautiful children, two of my own and two stepchildren, ranging in ages. And one of the things I love to do in my spare time is we sail in Long Island Sound. We love to, and we also love to cruise. So that's just a little bit about me. And as far as Waypoint, this is not about a sales call. But this is about really educating or adding credibility to why we're doing Coffee with Waypoint. So just Waypoint in general, what we do is where we live every day is helping senior living and skilled nursing providers get better benefits out of their website, create more leads, and create custom experiences for those consumers that are coming to your website. So we have a very powerful tool that combines a lot of different things, such as live chat. We have digital pro forms that convert at very high rates. We also have a recruitment solution. So really for us, it's all about integrating best of breed technologies. We integrate with your CRMs and your marketing automation platform. And our system is configurable because no two communities are alike. So that's where my background comes from in delivering this and working with Fahad on this webinar. So super happy to meet you all. If you're ever interested in more information, feel free to reach out. So today there's really a few areas that we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss number one is how large language models and the new AI technologies have changed sales and marketing for businesses in general. Then we're also going to learn how AI is transforming senior living marketing and sales, which is why we're all here. And then also learn how AI is helping senior living providers improve conversion rates, right? And lead management. And then also the customer journey. We all know that the age of standardization is behind us, and now we've moved into an age of personalization. So we're going to talk about how AI can also really help the customer journey and build in personalization and help them drive their own experience. And then Fahad's going to touch on the future of AI in senior living as well. So that's what we're going to cover today. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Fahad Aziz. I've been extraordinarily fortunate to work with him. So I'm really happy to have him. So I'm going to turn it over to Fahad so he can go ahead and introduce himself. And just so you know, as a point of reference, he writes for Forbes magazine as a technology advisor as well, or a writer. And he wrote an article in 2017 about artificial intelligence, AI, and senior care and senior living. So this is not new to Fahad. And of course, AI is not new in general. I mean, it was introduced back in the 1950s, I think 1956. And then people have been talking about AI for a while. But Fahad's going to touch upon why that has changed to make it so much easier to use AI. But I'm going to turn it over to Fahad. And Fahad, go ahead and introduce yourself and let's get this started.
Great, and thank you, Terry, for a very kind introduction. Talking about how old AI is. When I was back in, co- I was when I was in college, this is 98, 99. I took a course on AI and wrote my first AI application at that time. So this has been more than 26, 7 years now. Uh, the difference was that there wasn't enough computing power and there wasn't enough data.
Mm,
So yes, the concepts were there, and the tech world really believed that we can train the computers to be as smart as humans and do things. But at that time, it was just a concept. Um, very excited to be here. Thank you all for joining. Um, I've been in technology for many years now. It's been 2 decades, but I've been very fortunate to be in senior living tech space for more than 11 years. And this is when I had this absolute pleasure to work with Terri. I was new to the space, and for me, she was a mentor uh, about the tech and the world of senior living. So in 2011, um, I was in New York. I was working as a sales engineer. I decided to leave my job and build a technology for senior living communities. I got the opportunity to spend a couple of weeks in assisted living community outside of Chicago. And that's when I saw a lot of challenges uh, that staff and residents and families are having. Um, and this is the time when there was no Wi-Fi in the communities, and most of the staff members did not have a smartphone, right?
wow.
So very early, but we saw the challenges that and we realized that most of these challenges are because of lack of communication. So we started our journey then and built a platform called CareMerge. Initially, it was an engagement platform where it would allow families to connect with staff members and staff members to connect with other staff members as the shift changes. But 2, 3 years into that, we started to realize we were too early for the market, and there was a bigger challenge that communities were facing, which was around clinical care and EHRs. So, as you know, this industry, many of the communities were forced to use technologies from skilled nursing that were not designed for assisted living communities. Their workflows were very different. They were based on codes and billing, but at assisted living, CCRCs, the requirement was more around uh, creating assessments, creating care plans, and all that stuff. So we thought, that seems like an exciting problem to solve. We can do engagement. Why cannot we do EHR? So we started building an EHR. Little did we know that that EHR is not going to be a few weeks, few months. It took us 3 years to build it. Um, so cutting the story short, 10 years later, we were an EHR and an engagement platform. Um, and into 2022, we were serving close to 450, 500 communities. And then we got an offer for an acquisition and the company got acquired. So I still feel very fortunate that I've been part of this industry for so many years, where I got the chance to do a lot of research, understand the challenges on the ground. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of those with all of you today.
That's great. Thanks, Fahad. So we just have a few questions for everybody that's joined. You can just put it in your chat, but how many of you are using AI in the form of ChatGTP now in your daily lives, whether it's to create content, writing? If you could just put a little note in chat to say yes or no if you're using it currently, that would be helpful.
We're not, right?
Yes,
So
all of the above. Yes, 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 yes.
Oh boy. Okay, good.
No,
Okay.
that's all right.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
All right. And we have another question as well. In general, are you leveraging AI in marketing in other areas besides GTP?
I don't think we are we?
Nope. No, kinda,
Kinda. Okay.
not yet.
Not yet. Great.
Very little.
Very little. Okay, great. Yeah, there's a tremendous opportunity, isn't there? And we're just at the tip of the iceberg. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump in. Uh,
My very quick feedback on this one is
Yeah,
that
sure.
we may not even know that we're using AI,
Yeah,
but
we
we
may
are,
not.
yeah.
because it's so much embedded inside all the technologies that we are using today that we may feel we're using Google Sheets as is, but that much has changed in last 12, 24 months, and we're going to talk more about it today.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So we're going to stop sharing because this is really about a discussion and really talking with you about AI and Fahad sharing his expertise and experiences. So Fahad, I'm going to start with the first question, which is basically, how do you see large language models, so conversational AI, and the new AI technologies that are available changing the sales and marketing for businesses in general? And then we'll talk about senior living.
Right. So we are witnessing one of the most exciting times in technology. The only time we had something similar was when the internet was introduced and we were starting jumping on that bandwagon. The only difference is that the adoption was very slow back then because we had to had a modem. We had to learn how to use it, and many people didn't even have computers. So it took us 3 to 4 years. But what's happening today is everybody has all the tools and access to these technologies, right? So it's super, super exciting times. Um, the question is that, how this is going to change the sales and marketing. I think sales and marketing is one field that's going to be completely transformed after a few years because of the LLMs, right? Every aspect of it is going to change. If you look at the very basic of what generative AI or what these large language models does, is that it generates something for you based on what it has learned or what you're asking for it, right? And this generation of something new is may not be best at this time, but it's going to get better and better and better. So in the sales and marketing, when we talk about getting the customers, when we talk about engaging with the customers, when we talk about a journey all the way to the point where they decide to close and buy the product, this whole journey requires a lot of content creation, personalization, and all that stuff, right? And that's where there's a lot of automation is coming in. So I'm going to step away from senior living for a few minutes and just talk about enterprises in general, how they are using LLMs and AIs to change the way they were doing sales and marketing. So there's a report out from Gartner that says that 77% of buyers today want a rep-free experience, right? If you look at millennials, the percentage is much higher. 90% of them don't want to talk to any salesperson. They want to evaluate the product on their own. They want to go through this journey, and if they don't like it, they just at no point in their journey they want to talk to the salesperson, right?
Interesting, right, Augustina?
Yeah, unless the contract size is more than 100 to 200,000, right? So anything under that, people prefer a rep-free experience, right? So what is a rep-free experience? So for enterprises, what they do is that they have these what they call SDRs, right? And their job is to go and look for opportunities, find the buyers, and they work with marketing to create a lot of content, do webinars, events, and so on. And when they go to trade shows, and when they get leads, they take each lead, research on them, and then follow up and try to get them excited enough so they can hand it over to the sales team, right? So now uh, that's a very expensive proposition because these SDRs are not cheap, right? But they have a limitation on how many people they can talk to. They also have a limitation on how much research they can do on each prospect, right? As a result of that, every time a company is scaling, right, the biggest challenge is for them to scale their SDR teams, right? And when things are not going well, they also have to make it smaller and so on. So this is a team that keeps expanding and then keep collapsing and whatnot, right? So what the technologies we have seen today is AI SDRs, right? So you can completely replace an SDR. And how can you do that? Well, because with these new technologies, many of the tasks that SDRs were doing now can be done by a multi-agent LLM, right? For instance, your technology can go out and look for buyers, right? They can look for buyers even before they had made the decision that they need a software. And how you do that, your AI agents are looking at their LinkedIn profiles, researching on everything that they're posting, If they are not satisfied with something and they post about it, that's the point that you know that they may be looking for a new technology. Similarly, you're looking at other buying signals, and now they are collecting this information or this list of prospects that prospect doesn't even know that 6 months from now they will be out there looking for a solution, right? So that's one, the market research is being done by technologies now. Number two is that now when you found the prospect, you want to be engaged with them, right? But that engagement has to be extremely personalized, right? We saw some technologies in last few years that their personalization was limited to the name of the person and say, hey, Fahad, we want you to show you this new platform, blah, 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 right? And that was very impactful, just putting the name of the person in email made a big difference. But now it's going way, way beyond the name, right? So, for instance, when we send emails out, we look at the company and we look at what the company sells. We look at some of the new job postings that company has done, and then use that information to change the email, right? And put that references in our email. So the person has no chance of identifying that as created through a computer, right? It feels like it's very personal. Now, the irony of it is that even a SDR cannot do that because he doesn't have that much time to do one at a time, right? So these agents are doing it. So finding the opportunities and then giving them a personalized experience. And then once they get interested, taking them from there onwards with more technologies, like giving them more personalized content. So if you're selling into healthcare, you want to sell them a case study about healthcare. If you find out that this person is a part of CEO club, you're sending him something information about CEOs and stuff. So that's how we're seeing that this whole sales and marketing is completely being disrupted by these LLMs. Okay. So I'm going to pause here. I want to ask if anyone has a question. We can go deeper into any topic that was interesting to anyone.
I thought the rep-free experience was really interesting. We always say that, I feel like a senior living sale is more like a B2B sale because it's committee. It's sometimes longer term, depending on the need, of course. It's emotional, it's physical. It can be costly for a family. So there's a lot that goes into that. I thought that 77% number was really, really interesting. The other thing that's interesting to me, Fahad, and I'll leave it open to anybody else who wants to ask a question, is there is a book called Dark Horse that I've read that really talked about the age of standardization. For years, we grew up in a time where you go to college, you get your degree, you do what the path is to become, what's standard in our culture. But that book talks about now the age of personalization. I was looking around me to see if I could find the author of the book, but it really is interesting. It kind of changed my mind a little bit about how we think about how we serve not only the people that are coming and looking for your services, but also how we think about how we serve our customers to help personalize their services. So yeah, it was an interesting book, but we'll leave it open. Does anybody have any questions at all for Fahad so far? He's talking in general about AI in businesses. Feel free to put it in the chat. Peggy will read it if you want. Okay.
Nothing so far.
Okay.
Great.
All right, so let's jump into the next topic then. Fahad, senior living marketers, I think just like I just said, are challenged with positioning one of the most unique sales on the planet, really. Families may only go through this once or twice in their lifetime. Like I said, it's really a complex sale. And many may only look for it like once or twice in their lifetime for a mom or a dad, et cetera. How do you see AI transforming senior living marketing and sales specifically? Because one of the things that you said completely replace SDRs. I'm sure that everybody's backs were going up, like especially in senior living because of this complexity. But can you talk about how it will impact senior living sales and marketing specifically?
Yeah.
Great.
So, I love the way you presented that in senior living, it's a B2B sales because it's not just one person who's making the decision, right? There's so many people.
Yeah.
And everyone in that decision-making process has certain requirements, right? So if it's the family member, they really care about the location, maybe they may care about the cost. if it's the senior or it's himself or herself, they care about the amenities, they care about their other friends who are in that community and so on, right? So you look at all these decision makers, just like in any enterprise sales process, they all come in. Someone has a budget issue, someone has the cost, someone has the features and so on, right? So it's very similar. And that's why, this AI becomes really powerful because once it identifies who the person is and what the role that person has, it changes the narrative, right? It's not going to talk about cost to that person, knowing that he's nothing to do with the budget and stuff, right?
Mm.
Um, when I was in senior living and I was from the technology side, I was not the operator, and I had a lot of discussions with the operators on, what is the best way for you get the prospects and increase your census, right? And the thing that always excites me or was what was very interesting was that they would tell me that the earlier we get into their buyer journey, the higher the chances of them getting into our community, right? So we just cannot wait for them to come looking for us, right? We have to go and find them before they have made the decision, right? And I would ask them, how would you do that? That's not an easy task to do. And again, they would tell me something we just talked about, some buying signals, right? Someone just came out of a rehab and we know that he cannot live by himself anymore. Someone just had his spouse passed away. That could be a sign that he may be looking for a place and so on, right? So there are so many of those buying signals that they will look at. The other thing that was very exciting that they would do in some communities, which were more forward-thinking, would that they would have these outside the wall experience where they say, okay, there are like 5,000 people in the community, they're living at home. Why don't we bring them into the community and have them attend our barbecue, give them membership to the pool so they feel part of the community. And when they decide, we are their obvious choice. So this is now a really exciting opportunity with AI to actually implement all this in a more formal manner and actually uh, scale this process, right? Because to do that, in the past, you need to have so many salespeople who are looking out of making these partnerships with hospice and all these, I don't know, places. But now with the AI, you can do a lot of research, right? So what I have seen in other industries also is that you have these multi-agent solutions, right? And I can share some names with you as well. Like Copy.ai is one, AirOps is other. What basically they allow you to do is that you create these multiple agents, and every agent has a very specific task to do. So for instance, one agent job is to look for uh, people who recently discharged from rehab, to look for places where that information could be. The other option would be to look for people who have posted something on LinkedIn about their parents, right? And their personal stories, right? So you have all these agents that you have configured that doing these 6, 7 different things. But what the end result is that they bring all their research into one place and say, okay, this is what we found about this person, tick, 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 tick. And then you have these other agents that's going to take this and create these custom messages and start sending them out, right? So once you test it with like 20, 30 customers and you see that you have fine-tuned the system, then you just sit back and let it do it for you and scale it to thousands of people, right? So I think the opportunity for communities is that, this whole outreach, finding people before they even decide to buy the software. I think now this is really possible at scale with AI technologies. So that's one thing. The other thing we talked about is that, once the buyer decides to come to this community, the point that they have the first connection all the way to they make the decision to move in, that journey has to be extremely flawless, right? So someone coming to your website, right, and saying, okay, I'm interested, and I'm looking at you, I'm looking at Brookdale, I'm looking at Sunrise, right? But what can you do that makes them feel that this is the right place for them to be? And part of it is that you show them exactly what they're looking for, right? This is where the personalization comes in, right? So you do the hand holding And once you identify who they are, identify their persona, then basically you will tell them things that they don't even know about, but they're looking for, right? So I can give you a very good example. So let's say someone comes to the website and they're looking for an apartment position, and we find out from their data points that they have shared, or based on our AI agent has done some research, that we have someone else also in the community that also went to the same college where this individual went to, right? And without putting the names up there during the sales process, if you can just uh, if you can just mention that we have three other residents in the community that you may want to talk to. They also went to the same college that you did. Imagine the power of that for that individual. It changes everything for them. Versus if they're going to another community that has nothing common between them, right? Now, many of us in this room thinking that, oh, this looks like a very complicated thing to implement. First, you need to know about your residents, then you need to know about the next person. It may be, but here's the great thing about senior living. We have so much data between our engagement systems, between our EHRs, between our accounting systems, census systems. All needs to be done is that we can take this data out and give it to the agent so they can create these interesting experiences. Now, in the past, if you have to take the data out, you have to ask the EHR company to build the APIs and do all that structured data that you need, and you need to have engineers. That's also much easier to do now. We don't even need structured data. You can get unstructured data, which means that you can just download Excel files from all these systems and just give it to your agent without the names of the residents, and they'll do all the magic on top of it. So anyway, so the vision we are looking at is a much bigger vision where you say, hey, if someone comes to our website, that person should have an experience in that journey of decision that they're like, okay, this is the right place for us. Okay, and that's what AI allows you to do. So I'm gonna pause here, see if you have any questions, any feedback.
I have a couple of comments too, is in senior living in general, the way most conversion techniques work on senior living websites is really form-based, no matter what the front end looks like, right? If it says AI, so we have a conversational AI sales agent that we released last month, utilizing using LLM, and we're going live with it and with 4 customers to test it out. But at the end of the day, it's about capturing data. And I think it's when we were out at Smash, we were seeing that CRMs like Align, they were starting to think about how do they take the data that they're capturing and then inform sales on what the next steps are, how to be better at selling, how to access certain pieces of content that they needed in order to sell better. But I love the way you're talking about it in reference to the actual prospect itself. So you and I had talked about this yesterday, is like taking the data that we capture in our lifestyle quiz that's basically supposed to inform the salesperson about those important pieces that's important to that particular prospect so they can personalize the sales process, but to layer on an agent on top of that, take that data, build off of that data, and really create a complete profile of who this person is in order to inform sales to be more personalized. That to me is the ding, 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 ding for the sale. So it's definitely something that we're going to look into. But does anybody have any questions for Fahad on this? I mean, we know that AI is being used in senior living right now, but differently than it is on the front end. So I'd love to hear if anybody has any questions for him directly.
I have a question, Fahad. Some of the technology that you mentioned, as far as like being able to really understand who our leads are, and then also understanding who our current residents are, and kind of being able to close those gaps, it sounds very interesting to me. What I'm most curious about is we hear all the time about great products that are available and solutions that we can implement, but I think it's really difficult to kind of parse through and understand who's trustworthy in the space with so many new AI companies coming out with products and knowing where to go first, do you have any recommendations for kind of how to vet a program that we might want to implement?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I don't have an answer to that. To your point, we are at a very interesting junction where so much has been being produced and being created uh, that it's very difficult to at this time say, hey, these five technologies are very sophisticated or very trustworthy. I will still do some research and I'll see if I can find um, some of the systems that are more commonly used. Um, you can start with some enterprise versions of OpenAI, uh, the enterprise versions that Microsoft offer. Those are good places to start. For the multi-agent Screw AI has a lot of good tools that you can use. But it's a bit early to see who's going to be the leader, most trustworthy systems out there.
Thank you.
I do have, Austin, I do have one customer who utilizes an external firm to help them. This wouldn't be on the prospect side of it, but it was on the internal side of it for their sales portal. I would think they built an agent that was more like a sales agent internally versus externally. And I'm pretty sure I have the name of that company that did business with one, it was a good sized provider. So when we send the recording of this out, we can put some resources in the bottom of the email and I'll add that in there so you have access to that.
Okay. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. All right, let's talk about customer journeys. This is my favorite topic of all topics in senior living. And we built our product so we could empower prospects to make their own journey, whether they use an AI assistant or they don't, or they just use a form, whatever it is. It's really about meeting them where they are because we know consumers have changed so much just over time in general, but during the pandemic, it really caused a kind of this tsunami of change. And we know that 90% of people go online to do their search first. We do know that when people look for senior living, there is an anxiety that's attached to it. Nexus Insights, Bob Kramer, who's one of our formal advisors, he released a study that showed, I think it was 80 or 90% people looking for senior living options. It with long-term care, so it could include skilled as well, that are feeling super anxious when they're looking for these services. But I think that the journey for these consumers and meeting them where they are and how they want to, like Fahad said, before they speak to a salesperson, 77%, Gartner Group did a study, don't want to speak to a rep. They want to do their own research. The question is how can we use AI to enhance the customer journey? So Fahad, if you want to touch upon that, that would be great.
Yeah, so we briefly talked about it before, but
Yeah.
I think the journey of a prospect, or we call it buyer in this space, has to have some of those components we mentioned earlier. It has to be personalized. It has to follow through, right? Because that's another issue that you get like leads, and then the salesperson is not good enough to follow all the leads, and the good ones fall through the cracks, right? So you want to make sure that we follow through the leads as they go through the journey step by step. And then the following, and once is the follow-up, but other is the more engaged or task-oriented follow-up. So if someone say, hey, can you send me the photo of the apartment? I want to see how it looks. Right now, that's a task that needs to be done. So yeah, you can ignore that question. In many cases, salesperson can say, hey, go check on the website. You'll see some examples. In other cases, you're able to actually send it to them in like an hour. That experience just changes everything for that person, right? Because your competitor may have given them a tour of it or have sent them that image or the photo itself. So I think the challenge is much bigger challenge is to get the people to your website. They're not looking at Google anymore. They're probably looking at ChatGPT for answers, right? But once you land the person on your website, now everything is in your control, it's in your cockpit to take that journey from the first touch point all the way to the decision where they decide, right? And how enterprise are doing this today is that they are understanding at each phase what needs to be done. So they're creating this whole flow diagrams and saying, okay, the first experience is about this, second this, third, now they engage this, fourth this, right? So they draw this out and they say, okay, who is responsible for all these tasks? And they also find out that some parts no one is responsible, and that's why they have a leakage. But once you identify that, okay, my SDR is responsible for getting the leads, my salesperson is responsible for the first email and communication, and then he is also responsible to closing the deal. But once you define all these tasks, then you say, okay, how many of these parts can be automated, right? Maybe not everything can be automated today. But even if we can automate 70, 80% with AI, that's going to be a game changer. And the reason I mentioned AI is because automation was available 5 years back, 10 years back. Right? You can still send them automated emails. You can still send them automated phone calls or text messages. But I think what's different is that when you send them based on where they are in the journey. You send them something that they think resonate with, that they can relate to, right? So a good example with what you guys are doing, Terry, that someone comes to the website, you're asking them about their needs and so on, right? But now, based on what they share with you, you give them an experience, answer all the questions, you give them a virtual tour and so on, right? So that's the first or second level of personalization. Now, the third or fourth, something we were talking about yesterday was that they told you 6 things about them, right? But there's another 3 things about them that's available on public websites, right? So something recent happened with them. They moved from their address and their family member's address. They're different means they're not in the same state. So there's so much other data points about that prospect that now we can also collect. So 6 things that they told us and 3 things that we found out. When you combine the all that, and now you take them to the journey, they'll be blown away with what you have to offer to them. Very simple example today is that there are some technologies out there that has built some AI mechanism where if someone comes to your website based on their IP address, they can identify who the person is, his name, his company, his LinkedIn profile, right? So that person has not shared anything about him. All he did was he visited the website, right? Now there are 2 things to yeah. But it's out there, right? You can use that technologies on your websites, embed in your technology. Now, there are 2 ways to use it. One way is that you send them a LinkedIn request or send them an email. That's not good enough because that's intrusion in their privacy. They may not appreciate that. However, there's another way to go about it too, is that you use those data points to learn more about them, right? So go to their LinkedIn, find out their job. Did they change their job recently? Where they work? Did they post anything? And create a prospect profile. Okay, who this person really is, what he's looking, all that stuff, right? And then once he shows any interest, boom, now you have this account profile and he has asked for some demo or download a case study. Now use it very smartly to deliver a personalized experience that will blow he will not know what's going on with him, right? So we are doing that in some cases, but that's something that, the opportunity in senior living also, especially when you have so many stakeholders. And every stakeholder in that decision-making process has a different concern or different reason to buy.
Interestingly, a couple things. There's so much there. First and foremost, I think we need to do a coffee with Waypoint on B2B sales training because I think the whole B2B concept of training for value-based selling would be so perfect for senior living. That's one thing. The other thing is I think what we don't struggle with, but what we're really trying to figure out the most is, especially for this industry, since we serve older adults and their adult children, which are generally in my age range, is how to introduce AI in a meaningful way that's also not intimidating. And also the second part of that is when you do introduce AI, and I think it's really important to note that There are companies using AI in lead conversion tools on websites, but they're mainly what I would call a decision tree matrix. They're running through questions in order to convert someone into the sales funnel. I think the new LLM and the conversational AI is really where it's going to change a lot of things, where a customer can have the opportunity to ask any question they want. The agent now reaches out to all it's been trained on, the specific URLs, the specific documentation, specific brochures, maybe even some the way it's been trained. So it's gated, doesn't go out to the internet, just talks about, for example, LCB Senior Living in the residence at Basking Ridge. It only addresses that. The question I think that we continue to explore and we continue to tweak on the AI agent, this conversational agent, is how many questions does a customer ask before you convert them into the sales funnel? You should always offer them conversion all along. And we do have customers that are also offering a live, speak with the live person all along throughout that journey, so they never feel that they're stuck in an AI, bubble. So those are some of the things that we're hearing back from our clients are, number one is how do we position this in a way that these particular buyers feel comfortable? And I think offering it as an option, maybe not the only option, is a good way to go on that. And number two is where does the sales agent or sales assistant that's AI generated step in and step out and then moves into a real person? Because at the end of the day, that's like your digital front door. And your whole goal is to get that door to open and get someone to walk through it. And then that salesperson is that first real human touch that they get. Even though the AI agent feels human, like you can ask it jokes. I mean, it feels really real. But at the end of the day, I think that's in this industry what we're going to be struggling up against, Fahad, is how do you make that experience really personalized, really wonderful? I'm talking about the pre-conversion experience, and then they convert in. And then how far do you go before you really push someone to convert in versus driving them down a decision tree and pushing them into your sales funnel? I think that's where the difference is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any
Yeah,
thoughts.
well, so we can talk about what's available today and what's available 3 to 5 years, right? So let's talk about what's going to be available
Okay.
to answer this question.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk about something we call digital twins, right? So the whole idea is that you have a salesperson and he has a digital twin on the website, right? And he walks through the whole experience with the buyer, and the buyer doesn't even know that this is not a real person, or he's a real person, but he's an avatar of the real person. And the conversation that's being done is in the voice of the salesperson, the face expression, everything, because that's a digital twin. And at that point, only point I would believe is yet to be seen is that once they decide to visit the community, that's when they see the real person.
Wow.
Up until then, everything that's being done is by a digital twin, right? And I will love you guys to look at some of these technologies. One is Tavis.ai, Tavus.io. They create digital twins, and you can go to their website and talk to one of them. They're so sophisticated technology that when you open up your camera, they're looking at your face expression. Sorry, it's not Davis, it's Davis. They are looking at your face expression. They're looking at your background. They're looking at the books that you have on the shelf. So during the conversation, he's going to mention a lot of things that will be personalized on you,
Oof,
right?
that's
And this is just
crazy.
and this is just the beginning, right? So 2 years, 3 years from now, they'll be so sophisticated, so cheap, so affordable that they're going to carry you in that buyer's journey. And then at some point, it switches to a real person, and no one knows it really switched until you get to see the person in person.
I'm not
So
sure how that's going to go over with our customers. But I think
how would
it's coming.
they know? But how would they
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that you're not talking to a real person? Because even if you try some examples on Tavis.io today,
Yeah.
that the response time is super fast. If you ask a question, it quickly responds to you. The responses are very casual, and you can configure the personality,
Yeah.
right? The voice is yours, the face is yours,
Yeah.
right? So it may not be perfect today, but That's going to change. So anyway, the point I was trying to make was that today it's a different story. You're right. When do we decide to keep it to agent and when we decide? What I have seen in many systems and is that the systems are very upfront and saying that we're going to connect you to an AI agent.
Yep.
Let's talk to him, and at any point you want to switch, we can switch.
Yep.
Now that's great because as a buyer, I don't mind talking to the chat bot as long as it's smart as ChatGPT. I
Yep.
don't like the older versions where you ask a question and they don't know, they give you some irrelevant links, right? So that's not too bad, but being honest and telling them that, hey, who you're talking to is not a real person, but we can switch to that. I think that will work today and work for next couple of years, but
I
I think
agree.
eventually it's going to be replaced by digital twins.
That's crazy. I didn't even know about digital twins, but that's exactly where we settled with our customers that are testing out the full conversational AI is that they want to be upfront. They just say it's
Yeah.
an option when it comes to the website. Would you like
Yeah.
to connect with our virtual AI assistant? Or you can prefer to engage in whatever way you feel most comfortable with. But I think that is the best way to introduce it into this market. And then
And
see
the
the
point
data.
that yeah, and the reason is that the acceptance is much higher after ChatGPT, right? Anything that was built prior to ChatGPT, people were not too comfortable talking to ChatGPT. They felt to a chatbot, they may felt that they've been not taken care of, and but now after ChatGPT, they're more acceptable,
Yeah.
right? People find it more useful.
Now, for the people that came on and said they're not using ChatGPT to write content, basically they just go to OpenAI, set up a free account, right? And then they can get access to ChatGPT 4.0. So whoever's on here that's not using it, you can set up a free account. You literally can go in and put in anything you want. You could put in like 6 points and say, write me a short paragraph on this, and then you can tell it exactly how you want the tone to be, more concise, more compelling. And then it'll go ahead and actually rewrite emails, rewrite website copy. I think you have to be really careful. I think a lot of people are using it to write copy, but Google, my understanding is, Fahad, and I might be wrong on this, but that Google can kind of pick up what is ChatGPT created versus what is humanly created for SEO and that sort of thing. I don't know if that's exactly true or not.
Yes, maybe today.
Yeah.
It's
So, I mean, you have to be
getting very
careful.
smart.
Yeah, and personalizing it and making sure that it's specific
Yeah.
to your business, but boy, can it save time. So it's OpenAI, is it OpenAI.ai or
.com. Yeah.
OpenAI.com, OpenAI.com. You can go in and set up a free account, and then you can go in and use ChatGPT to really ask it any question. It's like a Google on
Yeah.
steroids. It's crazy.
Right.
Um, but anyways, I just know we had a couple of people that weren't using it. But Fahad, I really thank you. I don't know if there's anything else we didn't cover, but we can stay on and ask any questions. I'm still blown away by digital twins. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
process that one.
Yeah, it's super
Anybody have any
exciting.
questions at all? I'm glad you guys joined. I know this was a lot, but it's really exciting where AI is going to bring this industry, especially with how unique this sale is. I mean, at the end of the day, I think about sales professionals in this industry, and I have so much respect for them because this is not an easy sale. And I think that this can help in so many ways. And we're already trying to think about how we can utilize AI agents to support even the leads that we capture for our customers and how we can append more data to help with personalization and empower the sales teams. And of course, I think streamline, we didn't really talk about this, but streamline which leads have the highest propensity to close based on the data that was captured and informing sales. Because if they're getting in hundreds of leads a week, what do they focus their time on? We're doing basic things like gamification badges. This is a homeowner, it's an influencer, right? And our email notifications, but it's taking it to a whole new level. So really fascinating. So, all right, I'll be quiet. Any
Yeah.
questions?
Any questions before
Yeah,
I share some final notes on this?
you'll share with some final
Great.
notes. Sure, great.
Yeah. So, I'm my new venture is also in sales and marketing with AI, not specifically senior living. We help companies personalize their software demos. So depending on who is watching the demo, we change the experience of it. So if this is somebody coming from retail, they'll see a different version of a product. Someone is coming from healthcare, they'll see a different version of the product. So we take a existing product and then just change the demo experience for each one of them. I'm looking at this market from so many different perspectives now because this is my new venture. But one of the things that we are at a very, very interesting time because everything is changing, right? The whole content creation is now will be done by AI agents. Uh, as a buyer, it will be very difficult to trust anything that you listen, you watch, or you read, because your trust confidence level will be extremely low that this is done by human or this is real, versus it's done by technology and so on. So what's going to happen 3-4 years from now from buyer's perspective, right? And I think that's not only uh, for enterprises and other types of business, but also for senior living community. And I may be wrong. I may uh, come out of it, and you can tell me 3 years later that you were completely wrong. I think for the buyers, what will really matter are two things. Number one is the recommendations and referral system, right? Like who else is in the community? Who else is talking about this community? Uh, can they talk to them? And so on, right? So that aspect will be key because no one can take that away. No AI can take that away. And that's one. And the number two will be the brand awareness. So you need to build a really good brand. You need to have happy customers. You need to highlight the good things that you do, so that you have a brand that people want to, because most of the decisions today are being made by brand awareness. If I want to buy a solution, I have already heard about these three big software companies, so I just got to pick between the three, right? So it's very little chance that I'm going to go look for a new solution. So brand awareness. And number three is that once the person decides that they're going to look at this solution or look at the senior living community, that journey from that point is going to be a game changer, right? Companies and communities that fail to deliver a personalized experience or a good experience uh, will lose the opportunities more. So I think those three things together will be the differentiation for companies who are getting more customers versus others. So that's my future uh, vision of how this is going to change. But let's meet again in 3 years and see if it comes true or not.
I think you're dead on. I mean, there's going to be a shortage of units for the amount of older adults that are coming into this market, and the industry is going to have to catch up. We haven't seen that in the past, but it will be the future. And I think personalization is going to be key to winning those customers. You're going to be the competitive edge is going to be so necessary in this space as the industry tries to catch up with what's going to be needed in the future. So I think that you're dead on that, 100%, in my opinion, based on the data. So you're a rock star.
Thank you. Any final questions?
Yeah.
I hope this was helpful.
I will send out the recording afterwards, but feel free to put any questions. We'll stay on for a couple of more minutes. I have a hard stop at 1, but please do.
Michael says, thank you. This was great.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining, Michael. Okay,
Brandon, very helpful and intriguing.
good. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Fahad. I really appreciate your time. And we'll send out this recording once we have it loaded into YouTube, and we'll send it on out. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Fahad.
Thank you.
Says, thank you, Terry and Fahad. This was very helpful. Have a great afternoon. Thank you from
Awesome.
Augustina. Thank you from Brandon.
Great.
Thank
Awesome.
you all. Take
Thanks,
care. Have a
everybody.
great